comes from Egypt. And she, for a decade, worked for groups like the United Nations and many other charitable organizations around the world, especially to do with human rights and the protection of women and children. She went off and got her master's degree in Italy in international law. She got another master's degree in London. Very educated woman. But she changed her life and went into filmmaking because she had witnessed so many dramas in her work in human rights that she wanted to be able to document some of these. So I would like to introduce to you a remarkable woman named Reem Morsi.
I'm from Egypt originally, and I've lived in different parts of the Middle East, and I'm going to try and represent generally the Arab countries in the Middle East, like in more general terms, so in the language that we used and some of the traditions that we have. So I will start with hello. It's ahlan wa sahlan. Okay. I'll say it separately, so ahlan, I want to say it. Ahlan means family, and wa means and. Sahlan means comfort and ease. So the way this sentence is structured is basically to say, may you find a family or your people in us, and comfort and ease in your visit. So this is basically, it exists in different variations in different parts of the Middle East. In some countries, maybe they will just lose the N at the end of ahlan, at the end of sahlan, and just say ahla wa sahla, or they just say ahlan wa sahlan, and so on. So maybe try and say it again, ahlan wa sahlan. And in response, I will say to you all, ahlan bikum. You're most welcome. Okay. Next thing. Thank you is shukran. Yes. And if you're familiar with Shakira, her name is derivative of the word shukran. She's part Arab, and it's about gratitude and being thankful to others or to God or to whoever that you want to be thankful for. So her name is derivative of this. So shukran. Next, please. In response, you would say afwan. Afwan. It's actually the right pronunciation for this in Arabic is afwan, but I think the ayn is very hard. So you want to try that? Afwan. That's very good. I'm really impressed. And afwan, besides meaning you're welcome, it also means excuse me. If you're, for example, in a crowded area and you want to walk by, you'll just say afwan. It's also asking for forgiveness. So it depends on which country you are, the variations of afwan or the way it's used it will be, but generally speaking, afwan is the response to shukran, which is you're welcome. Thanks. So let's go over it again. Ahlan wa sahlan. Perfect. Shukran. And afwan. Thank you. Okay, can you go to the following slide, please? I just wanted to give you a little bit of a background about Middle Eastern culture, like Arab culture. Also, in general terms, there are exceptions, of course, and some of the traditions that we have. This picture I took in the south of Egypt in one of the Nubian villages that were moved to another location because of the Nile and the high dam that was constructed. So this is one of the few surviving villages in the south of Egypt. And I just want to talk generally about the traditions regarding growing up and marriage and proposals and so on. So to start with, you're expected to be living at home throughout your whole life until you get married. So whether male or female, you will be living with your parents and your family. It's expected, and it's a sort of respect, and sometimes for economic reasons, obviously. You'll be living with your family until you get married, whether you're male or female. There are a few exceptions to this case, but if you're living in the same city while studying at university or while working, as your family, you're expected to live with them. And I think I've seen this in other Asian cultures where I lived before, and I think there's a bit of familiarity there. Regarding the marriage proposal, dating is a little bit frowned upon, but it does happen. and more as in the recent years. But usually it's expected that the groom or the guy will go to the father of the bride and propose, and then accordingly things will proceed. But we also have another tradition where sort of a blind date, but arranged by the families. So if I know that this particular family and this other family have eligible age son and daughter who could work, I would propose them to each other and just say, why don't we have them meet and arrange for a meeting? The way this would happen is, for example, they'd all go out to dinner, for example, and if there is a bit of a click, then maybe another date will happen with another family member and maybe one more on their own, and then they'll say, okay, it looks like things are going on very well. Let's shake hands and recite a little bit of the Quran, and then a sort of an engagement will take place. This is also, this takes place as well in some of the Christian minorities or Christian populations in the Middle East, but it's in different variations because it's more of a culture, conservative culture type of thing. Of course, there's still dating and a lot of people get away with it, but it's not really the norm, at least in the past many years. The next morning, so this is the next morning after the couple gets married because they're expected to be virgins until they get married. So the next morning, you'd probably have the mother-in-law, the mothers-in-law coming in, visiting, and bringing a lot of food, very early in the morning usually, disturbing the groom, the bride and groom, and sort of checking to see if everything went really well the night before, you know. So this is really kind of, how was it for you, and this kind of thing, and a lot of gossiping on the side and all that. Many smart couples run away from this and go on their honeymoon immediately after the wedding, so they don't have to go through that. Next, please. This is a woman from the same village when I was touring there in the last few months. I want to compare a little bit my culture to Canadian culture, or maybe North American culture. So for example, in personal space, I think because things are more crowded, maybe in many countries in the Middle East, and we have less space, the idea of personal space is very different from here. So when you're walking with people, you're really walking very close with your friends. And I did my high school in the States, and one of my closest friends is a guy, and whenever we go out walking together, we keep walking like this. He's just walking, and I'm trying to walk next to him, and he keeps trying to escape from me, and I keep walking next to him. And I didn't really understand what it's about, and then he explained, you know, in North America, we have this thing called personal space, and you have to have some distance between you and the person walking next to you. So I'm glad I found this out before moving here. It saved me a lot of problems. The other thing I noticed here is the leaning on cars. I also realized through bad experience that when I was leaning on someone's car, some random car on the street, it was a bit frowned upon. I got yelled at a few times, and I realized, okay, this can't happen. Whereas, for example, in the Middle East and in Egypt, for example, you'll find teenage kids sitting on random cars, playing cards, chatting, staying up till very late at night and talking. So it's a bit of a difference in the culture. And restaurants. I came to realize after a few years here, a little bit too late, that we can't really wave at the waiters to come to our table. It's usually preferable to wait until the waiters come to you, whereas in the Middle East, you wave and you ask them to come to give you attention. So this is also something I learned the hard way when I was completely ignored a few times in restaurants for a long time. So next one, please. The last thing I want to touch upon is that Arabs are known to be very generous, and whenever I've gone anywhere in the Middle East, I found that people were always very welcoming. I've had 100 teas in the day just because I'm walking down a market, or given little snacks and little treats and everything. And when I came here, I realized that when I'm making a dinner for friends, that I always overdo it, and they're always shocked at the amount of food that I make, and unintentional. Recently, for a party of a few of my friends, it was a party for maybe 20 people. I made them one of the most traditional dishes in the Middle East, couscous with vegetables and chicken and all that. And I realized I made way too much when everybody at the party ate. And I'm staying with those friends for now. And 2 weeks later, we're still eating the same dish. Even though we gave away so much at the party, we're still eating it. So I'm learning now to have a different amount of food made for guests. And I hope today we'll have some kind of a good Arabic goodies after. And that's it. Thank you very much. Okay.
Okay, everybody, we are going to say thank you to Reem. Good job.